The Tupolev Tu-134, with the NATO reporting name of Krusty, was a pioneer in the commercial aviation industry of the Soviet Union. It made its maiden flight in 1963 and was one of the first commercially successful airliners for the Soviet Union. Their early models of the Tu-134 unfortunately had several design issues that held it back from being a great airliner. These design issues were holdovers from the Tu-16 Badger bomber that the Tu-134 design eventually evolved into. These issues included a more severe sweep to the main wings than most of the early jet airliners had, a lack of thrust reversers, which required a parachute landing assist system that are mostly used on military aircraft. Despite these issues, production of the Tu-134 began in 1966 and continued through to 1989, with most of these issues resolved in later models. Now let's proceed to review a random sampling of some of the surviving Tu-134s that can be found around Europe. Our first stop is the Estonian Aviation Museum, found south of the city of Tartu, Estonia. Here you can see an example of a Tu-134A3, which still has the originally built navigator windows in the nose, a holdover from the old Soviet bomber design of the Tupolev Tu-16 Badger. This airliner began its service in 1978 with the primary Soviet airline service Aeroflot, registered as Charlie 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 Papa-650901, wearing the classic Soviet Aeroflot blue cheat line livery. This aircraft served Aeroflot until the fall of the Iron Curtain. In 1991, the aircraft was transferred to Lithuanian Airlines, registered as Lima Yankee-Alpha Bravo Golf, and repainted in a blue livery that was mostly white. There appears to be a period of time where the aircraft was with Orient Avia with the registration of Romeo Alpha-650901, but there is no proof that this aircraft actually flew for them. The aircraft finished its passenger paying career with the Estonian flagged Elk Airways, registered as Echo Sierra-Lima Tango Alpha. By around 2002, the aircraft had been retired by Elk Airways and installed by Crane Track at the Estonian Aviation Museum. Next on our list, and over in the western part of Germany at the Luftfahrt Museum in Finnever, there on outside display is a Tu-134N. For the entirety of its passenger carrying service, this aircraft was with the East German airline called Interflug. Delivered to Interflug in 1969, the aircraft was painted with a red cheat line along the windows and registered as Delta Mike-Sierra Charlie Hotel. Come 1981, the aircraft was re-registered as Delta Delta Romeo Sierra Charlie Hotel, but was otherwise unchanged. Soon after the Iron Curtain fell, the aircraft was retired by Interflug in 1991. When this aircraft was placed at the Luftfahrt Museum in Finnever is unknown, as it is not mentioned on the museum's website, but the earliest photos we have found have it at the museum in 1997. Around 2010, the aircraft was repainted with a LOT Polish Airlines livery in the front and an Interflug livery in the rear, even though this aircraft in particular had never flown for LOT, and then a few years later the complete Interflug livery was restored to the aircraft, as can be seen today in 2023. Still in Western Germany, we go to a museum we visited during our video on surviving de Havilland comets. Of course we mean the Flugausstellung Peter Junior Museum, set near Tiergarten in the Rhineland-Palatinate. This aircraft, like the Tu-134 above, flew its entire career with the East German airliner Interflug, first delivered in 1971 with the standard Interflug red cheat line and a registration of Delta Delta Romeo Sierra Charlie Kilo. Like the other A model Tu-134s, it maintained the glass nose for the navigator. After the Iron Curtain fell, the aircraft was retired from Interflug service and acquired by the museum in 1994, where it sits today with occasional refreshes to its Interflug livery. We now travel to the Minsk National Airport and the site of the Belarus National Aerospace Museum. On outside display is a Tupolev Tu-134A, and like many other Tupolev Tu-134s, this aircraft started its career with the Soviet airliner Aeroflot, starting in the late 1970s. Again, with the fall of the Iron Curtain, this airliner was able to change ownership and operators, starting in 1992 when it was first owned by Aeroflot but operated by Belavia, Belarusian Airlines, before being owned by them completely in 1993 with a new registration of Echo Whiskey-65149er. The aircraft was withdrawn from active service in 2009 and then repainted in its original Aeroflot colors and placed on display at the Belarus National Aerospace Museum outside the Minsk airport. Confusingly, the registration it was given was Charlie 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 Papa-65036, which is an old registration number for Tu-134A-3, currently on display in Moldova, which is the airplane we'll talk about next. As promised, the real Aeroflot Tu-134A-3 that was actually registered as Charlie 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 Papa-65036 is currently on display in Chisinau, Moldova. The aircraft, again like many others, was delivered for service with Aeroflot. This occurred in 1976 with the standard Aeroflot colors. By 1993, the aircraft had been acquired by Air Moldova and re-registered as Echo Romeo-65036. This aircraft was painted mostly white with the Moldovan national colors along the fuselage and tail in stripes. In 1997, the aircraft landed short at the Chisinau National Airport, but the damages were quickly repaired and the aircraft was returned to service. By 2005, the aircraft had been retired from active service and now stands on display outside the Chisinau National Airport, greeting cars driving to that airport. We head now to Kyiv, Ukraine to find our next example of a Tu-134 on display. Again, this one started life with Aeroflot during the days of the Soviet Union, registered as Charlie 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 Papa-65743. Delivery to Aeroflot was in 1972. Unlike other aircraft, when the Iron Curtain fell, this aircraft did not go on to fly with other airlines in the former Eastern Bloc of Europe. In 1993, this aircraft was initially given to the Institute of Engineering in Kyiv-Zlyani as an airframe to provide instruction on for future aircraft maintenance personnel. By 1999, its teaching career had finished and was put on display in its Aeroflot colors at the State Aviation Museum in Kyiv. While we were at the Ukraine State Aviation Museum in Kyiv, we should also mention, also on outdoor display, is the special Tu-134 UBL, which has a Tu-160 nose attached to the front. This type of aircraft was used to teach Tu-160 crews on how to fly that aircraft. The aircraft is in Ukrainian military colors and has a simple registration number of Blue 43. From what we can gather about this military aircraft, it was probably delivered in 1982 to the Soviet Air Force, then changed hands in late 1981 to the Russian Air Force before transferring to the Ukrainian Air Force at some unknown date. Sometime after this, the aircraft was transferred to the Ukraine State Aviation Museum in Kyiv. Now on to Budapest, Hungary for one of the older examples of this aircraft type. This is also one of the few surviving Tu-134s that has not served with Aeroflot. This aircraft story started when it was delivered to the Hungarian airline Malev in 1969. While with Malev, the aircraft was registered as Hotel Alpha-Lima Bravo Echo. By the looks of the aircraft now, when compared to older photos of it, this aircraft has worn the same livery since the day it was delivered. After this aircraft was retired, it was presented to the Hungarian Aviation Museum in Budapest, where it went on display in 1989. This is where it sits today, outside the main museum. Our last example of a surviving Tu-134 is back in Germany, near the town of Sinsheim at the Technik Museum. Like our previous example, this aircraft spent most of its time flying passengers in and out of Hungary for Malev Airlines. While with Malev, it was registered as Hotel Alpha-Lima Bravo Hotel and started service there in 1970. Briefly, in between 1972 and 1974, this aircraft was used as a VIP transport registered as Hotel Alpha-925 before being returned to Malev Airlines. By 1998, this aircraft had been retired by Malev Airlines and put on outdoor display at the Technik Museum Sinsheim, still wearing its Malev livery. And there you have it, the history and locations of some of the preserved members of the Tu-134 type. This is not an all-inclusive list, as there are many examples of this remarkable aircraft preserved for posterity all across Eastern and Western Europe. These aircraft not only marked a significant milestone in aviation history, but also serve as a testament to human innovation and perseverance. If you're an aviation enthusiast like us, make sure to visit these museums to witness the legacy of the Tupolev Tu-134 firsthand. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more captivating aviation history content. Thanks for joining us today, and we'll catch you in the next video. Fly high and explore the skies of history.